Today I'm just going to do a short update. There hasn't been any layout progress whatsoever this year. I have been running the layout, testing some of the trains and the operating scheme, and then also testing out turnouts in different cars and just doing some fine tuning here and there when I have time. Otherwise, nothing has progressed other than this lumber office here down in Sewell. This was one of the ones that started out like this one here with 3D printed inner core, and then I covered it with real wood. And the windows are 3D printed, and some of them I've made open and some closed. So I printed the lower sash separate. Another thing I started to do here was to cover the roof with a roofing material, but I want to put a coal stove in the middle of this structure here. So I'm trying to decide where I'm going to have the smokestack come out of the top of the building. I'm assuming in a building this size, it was just a stove somewhere in there. And so just a stove pipe will come out the top. There is a little bit of work going on in the interior, or not much actually, just the walls have been lined with a paper printed interior, and then the floor is in there. Here's some wiring. I did put some LEDs on the ceiling here. But other than that, that's just kind of on hold until I get back to it and figure out what I want to do with that chimney. Also, I finished 3 more flat cars. You can see 2 of them here. And then I did 2 box cars. And the box cars are actually fictional cars. They were started when I was modeling a fictional railroad. And when I switched to the Man Creek Railway, I threw them in a drawer and kind of just forgot about them. And then while I was looking for some stuff, I found them again. And so here they are. They were really close to being finished, so I decided to go ahead and finish them. And this one here is actually a 30-foot car. And what I did is I just opened up East Broadtop book, and I kind of just pulled some details from that, like the way the roof is done here, and then that tie bar along the end there. You know, it's totally fictional for what I'm doing, but it's fun to just see it on the layout and be done after probably 12 years of it sitting in a drawer. And same with that one down there. I think that's just a generic, it might be a Colorado prototype of some kind. One other small side project I've been working on is I've been trying to produce more coal. I've had a significant shortage of coal that I had set up from the previous layout. And when I went to find that product, again, I can't find it anywhere. It's not on the internet. So I went to a store, an aquarium store, and I found this stuff here that has a really great shape, and it looked black in the package, but when it dried out, it's actually gray, but it has a really nice shape to it. So I decided that I would try to find a product to color it black, and I found this stuff here. It's a stone I think it's a stone kind of dye of some kind. And what I've been doing is mixing up small batches, and I pour a little bit of this in it, and I let it sit and kind of evaporate in to the rock. It doesn't really go that well into it. And then what I have to do is I have to rinse the rock because it kind of leaves a sticky coating on it. And it does make it more black. It's not totally black like the original stuff, but it's good enough that when it's mixed in with what I had, it worked out pretty well. And here you can see some of the larger ones I've screened off of it. I made years ago, I took this, I actually took this container here, and I cut the lid open and I made this piece. And what I would do is I'd fill this up with aquarium rock, and I would stick this on there and close the lid. And somehow when I moved to the new house, I lost the ring on here. So I've been having to hold this on here with my hand. And what this does is it screens out the really large pieces that would get stuck in the doors and kind of jam them open. And it leaves me with kind of a medium material, which then I screen through a window screen to get out all these little fine particles that would leak out through the doors. And what I do, so these are the large particles that I'm actually screening out too. Now I can use all this stuff in scenery as I go along, but what I do is I just end up with a kind of a medium mix of coal, and then that's the stuff that I actually dye and then wash. And so far, like I said, it's looking pretty good. So the last thing we'll cover is over here at the workbench And it's a dirty workbench today because I don't have time to clean it up. I just have enough time to work on this. This is the Shay that has the 3D printed gears, and it's a fictional Mans Creek railway locomotive, number 11. They never had it. And what this locomotive is going to be is it's going to be my fourth Mans Creek engine, which will be a spare locomotive in case one of the other ones breaks during an operating session. And you can see I'm about maybe halfway through the weathering and construction process. And I forgot, it's been a while since I built one of these. I forgot how long they take to weather and paint and put all the pieces on it. It's a really fun process. I wish it didn't take so long, but it is a fun process to do. I've got the Trackside West Virginia book here that I've been using as a reference. And I really kind of like this locomotive, the way it's painted. It's just pretty much all black. The smoke box is black. The firebox is black. And I just kind of like the real kind of brute look of this black blob. But as you can see, the weathering in it here, it's not all black. So there is stuff here that I work on to bring the colors out. You know, you can see like the dirt and the rust streaks. You can see this cylinder top, the cylinder covers are a little bit different colored. And then of course there's some kind of mud splatter on the front there. And all of that I've been working through. I've been kind of working, there's a first layer of dust on the running boards. It looks kind of harsh right now, but it'll get blended in with more layers as I go. An interesting thing I like to do is I actually like to texture the paint a little bit. I actually put a little bit of powder in the wet paint, and it gives it a little bit of texture to the surface so it doesn't look so smooth. And as you can see, the smoke box has a kind of wet look. A lot of times on steam locomotives when they're running, those exposed areas can have kind of a wet look to them from the steam that lands on them. You know, if you're unfamiliar, this is actually jacketed here, but that's exposed there, and so is the firebox. And those things can kind of look a little different. Another thing I did on this locomotive was to change the water tank. So if you saw the video earlier, I had this tank on there, which I consider kind of a medium height tank. The distance right here is a lot lower than the one that on here that I ended up using. And again, I kind of thought it might contribute to the bulky look of this engine. This just has a first layer of weathering on it yet. It'll match the cab here as soon as I kind of move along a little bit more. This one had one more extra step in it. I had to seal the decals on there pretty good so that when you weather, you don't see the edge of the decal. And so it takes a couple more coats to get that to smooth that line out pretty good. The inspiration for this Shay actually came out of the new, it's new as this, at the moment of this video, it's not new, it's newer, Shay book. And I came across this page here of this locomotive called the Diamond Lumber Company, and it had that high back Shay and that Radley Hunter stack, and I just thought that really looked kind of beefy there, and especially with the raised running board and the air tank underneath it. So that's the one I kind of used to model this. Now that one has stripes, and I left the stripes off on mine because I like this kind of plain utility looking locomotive here. So I decided just not put the stripes on this one and just keep it as simple as possible. Another thing that's different now is I've been using these new ESU speakers, and up to this point I was using scale sound system speakers, which are great speakers, and I would highly recommend using them. But this one here is just a little bit more, and more is always better, right? So these are kind of my new steam locomotive speakers for my O-scale steam locomotives. And I might be going back at least in my number 8 Shay and putting one of these in there. That still has a scale sound system speaker. So these are great speakers here if you want to. So it doesn't fit in the firebox like the other speakers did, but it'll fit above the firebox. And what I do is I just move the decoder. It's back crosswise behind the motor here. And then the Keep Alive is now down in the bottom where the speaker used to be. So they sound great in there. I'm really happy with these. Over here you can see the cylinder set, which is called the engine for the number 11 Shay here. And I'm in the process of putting in the rods and the valve gear and putting in the tumbler shaft, I think they call this. I'm not sure. It's a reverse linkage. I used to 3D print that on there, but lately I've been liking to make it a brass rod, and then I have it extend farther out and put the reverse linkage on it. The reason why I like the brass rod is that it just stays a little straighter than the 3D printed rod that is on several of the other ones I've done. One more thing I've been working on is the first set of test prints for the 3-truck 60/70 ton Shay. This is based off of the New Mexico Lumber Company Shay. And I happen to get all the drawings for this Shay, the actual construction drawings, and I went through and modeled it all from those drawings. So this is a really accurate model of that locomotive. And that had to that made me have to do new trucks here. So these are cast Shay trucks. The other Shays all have like an arch bar type fabricated truck that's got metal straps and separate journals. And at one point, Lima went to these cast trucks on some of the later ones, and it was really fun having the actual drawings to make these trucks. So these are really accurate. And this is the first test print. These are actually printed black. I just sprayed them with some gray to show the details a little more. And then the frame, of course, and water tank. The tank actually screws on. You can see the screws, which are painted gray at the moment. And then there's a water hatch that's a separate part. This is a separate part this time. So this is all just me test fitting these pieces to see how this goes. This also has 3D printed wheel centers, and they are a different size. So they are quite a bit larger than the other locomotives I've done up to this point. So I will have to get the machine shop to make me a set of tires that will go on this one here. To test it though, I'm going to use the tires I've used on all the other Shays simply because I have them. And I know since this is the first print of this, testing and adjusting goes on for a long time normally before I'm happy with them and before I want to shell out the money to have a machine shop make me some wheels. The truck that's underneath this water tank is actually what I call the middle truck. So I just screwed it on here just to make it look like like a complete unit here. But this one will actually go underneath the rear of the locomotive itself. So it's kind of just under the cab or to the back of the cab. And this is going to be the drive truck here, which will have the fall hopper motor in it. And it's a little bit of a challenge because this one required me to offset the motor. And so there's some idler gears in it that I'm testing out. They both have bearings on the shaft, which is normal for the way I like to do it. But I'm a little worried that the idler gears are going to cause the locomotive to buck. So that's why I'm going to test this out with the wheels that I have in case it doesn't work out and I can't come to a conclusion on how to get it to do what I want it to do. I'm just not going to put the money in the tires yet. And the very last thing I'm going to show here is I've been doing more work on the 2-drum hoist that I 3D modeled. Probably been a couple of years now. The reason why I'm doing some more work with this is I got a little bit more information. I found some more documents for the American Hoist and Derrick. And it kind of showed me some places where I had a couple little things off. So I adjusted those. I also adjusted the supports so that it prints and removes from the supports a lot easier than my previous one. And I've been adjusting some of the part supports so that they're not, so they print with a little less supports. So there's less touch up to do on those. And one of the reasons why I'm kind of doing that is I am considering offering this as a kit. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna yet, but it's strongly being considered. I really like the way this goes. It's easy to build. It's fun to build. I've had a couple people build it to just test it to see what they think about it, and I've gotten positive feedback on it. So This might be the one where I test the waters to see if I want to manufacture and sell kits. But I'm not promising anything yet. If you're interested, you think it'd be something that's be worth buying, maybe leave a comment. If I get a lot of comments, maybe it'll motivate me a little bit more. So anyways, I wish I had more to show you. I've just been busy this summer. I'm hoping this fall is a whole different story and we can get to doing some scenery on the actual layout. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.